Evening, everyone. Welcome to Sports Unplugged. Joined tonight by Chris Brack. How are you doing, Chris? How are you, mate?
Good,
All
thanks,
good?
Kev. Thanks for having me on, mate.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Hello, everyone in the chat. Hope you're all doing good. Listen, there's actually just shed loads of sport on this weekend, but I mean, I looked through it, and you have England, South Africa in the rugby, but that doesn't matter because we beat the All Blacks last week, so by default, we're world champions.
I'm asked about rugby. So
Yeah, we're world champions now, so it doesn't matter. You've got loads of Premier League football, and we're going to get into that. We're going to go back to a bit of what Chris's format was, which is we're going to go through the Premier League fixtures and give our predictions, see where teams are, any bit of news from today from the press conferences and what have you. But first and foremost, there's a fight on tomorrow night in America, in Las Vegas. Crawford against Porter. Now, for me, Crawford Porter should be up there with Fury Wilder as the fights of the year, right? And I've seen virtually nothing said anywhere apart from what Sky are pushing. It's got no traction online. Is boxing dying over in the UK and Ireland and Europe across the world? And it's becoming a clique niche sport now that it's got its cult following, and it can't grab the mainstream anymore. How do you feel about it? I mean, when was the last time you were excited to watch a fight?
Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, that's scary, isn't it?
That's when I used to watch. That's when I used to watch boxing, when it was the Lennox Lewis era and Tyson. They were big fights, you know. And I'd go and find footage of older fights with like Eubank and the guy used to fight all the time. What's his name?
Eubank Ben Watson.
That's it. Eubank Ben. Watching all the stuff. Watching all this old stuff. It was really good. Boxing now, I'm kind of like, if it's on, I'll watch it. If I can find a way of watching it without paying, I'll watch it. But do you know what? I wonder, is this a side effect of, as Jason's put here, MMA UFC's took over?
Well, funny, Jason should say that. When I was digging around earlier on today, I thought, right, I'm going to look for the PPV buys for the Fury Wilder fight and see if I could compare it to UFC 268, because they were both on at the same night. And I know me and you, we sat and watched the UFC 268. And,
it was good.
And we watched it on BT with Callum doing his watch along, and it was a great night. It was a really good show, a really good card.
What I liked about that was I haven't watched UFC properly for about 2-3 years, probably since GSP retired.
Yeah,
because I used to love watching him because he was just ridiculously good.
He was a machine, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then I kind of fell out of it just because of, there's only so much sport you can watch.
Yeah.
So I watched it blind, didn't know any of the fighters, didn't know who was good, who was crap. Watched it. It was really enjoyable. The women's fight was brutal.
Honestly, wasn't it?
And I mean brutal in a good way. It's absolutely beat the piss out of each other.
Yeah, and it was just technically fantastic fight as well.
And I don't think the right person won either, personally.
But that's that's what you want in an event like that. I thought
it was going to be a title change, and I was quite surprised it wasn't, which was like, oh, okay. Whereas boxing, I do wonder, is this a bit of the YouTube fighting a real boxer stuff has kind of soiled it a bit, because people are like going,
it's not real boxing, is it? I mean, no. I looked for the PPV numbers, right? I couldn't find anything for 268, but the Wilder Fury fight had a global pay-per-view audience of 800,000, and the earliest one I could find for UFC 261, which is Usman against Masvidal, was 700,000. And when you think UFC really is a niche sport, it's growing massively, but when you think the boxing has the credibility of being an Olympic sport, and you name a fighter, you name Tyson Fury, and it transcends sports more or less. UFC shouldn't have that pull, but it does. But what I'm finding with boxing, especially I'm seeing it with Crawford Porter, because on paper, you've got a four-time world champion against a two-time world champion. Crawford is unbeaten, pound for pound, probably one of the best fighters in the world, easily in the top 3. And it's not even making a pay-per-view in the UK, and nobody's interested. Nobody's bothered. I mean, we're chatting about it, but it's mainly the reason I wanted to talk about it was what can boxing do to get back onto the back pages on the front page of the back pages, if you know what I mean, rather than 7 pages in having a little section somewhere. What can boxing do?
Probably, most fights I've watched really, they're boring. It's a lot of hugging and not a lot happens. You know, they're all, people call them technical fights. They're dull. They're really dull. And you know, UFC, they have all the hype, and they're very good at the hype. Like the boxers are very good at the hype, but they actually hit each other in UFC, and they actually hurt each other. Which is kind of the. I know it sounds barbaric, but it's kind of the point of the sport a little bit is you want to see a bit of contact, a bit of physicality, and too much of stuff like, you know, the last anti-Joshua fight, I thought it was dull.
Yeah,
you know, he was dominated by the right fighter. The right fighter won, no problems with that, but it wasn't the most exciting. I mean, Tyson Fury's fights are a bit more exciting. He keeps getting knocked down when he probably shouldn't do.
Yeah, when you got a fighter like that who's got a bit of a chin,
at least never know. Yeah, that's a bit exciting. He goes down. But I do think sometimes it's a bit of sloppiness. It's not cleverness by the other fella. He's just a bit sloppy. But I don't know.
The other thing that happened this week with the heavyweight scene was Dillian White. The WBC had their convention, and Dillian White should have been number 1 contender for Tyson Fury's belt. And because he's taken a case against the WBC for something else, they've decided to ignore the fact that he's been their number 1 contender for the last God knows how long and kick him down the road again. And I think that's half the problem with boxing. As fans, we don't get the fight that we deserve. Whereas the UFC, the rankings are champion 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Or if you do get the fight you want to see, you get it when they're past the prime, and you're like, it's not what I want to see. I think that's a problem. It's 4 world champions. I mean, it's a bit like wrestling. There's 4 world champions, but they're not. You're like, but which one's the real one? You're like, in UFC, listen, Dana White. Some people like him, some people despise him. You know, he's a controversial character. But ultimately, if you're in the UFC, there's only 1 champion at each weight banded. There's none of this split champion. There has been interim champions when one of the main champions has been injured, or there's been a little bit of reason why they can't fight. But in general, that's it. Same with Bellator. Bellator's the same. You know, they have 1 champion at each weight class. There's none of this 2 champion stuff. Yeah. So that's probably a bit of a factor as well, I would say, is people are probably like, well, who is the real champion? Because like AJ's been champion for a while, but a lot of people don't think he is because they all think Fury is battering.
Yeah,
and maybe that's the thing is,
we as fans, we never get the fights that we deserve when they need to be fighting. And the idea that you can have a world champion that fights once every 12 months or once every 9 months, if you're lucky, it's killing the sport. It really is.
Roman Reigns is the real one.
Yeah, that's one thing we've definitely got to get into one night before the end of the year. Maybe when there's another quiet night, as we'll get into the WWE and the old NWA, AWA, that kind of stuff.
I think we should talk about the new company. AEW.
Yeah, you guys get it in the UK, don't you? Is it on TV in the UK?
It's on ITV. You get.
We don't get it
on a. I'll be honest. It's what people. Oh, go on a tangent. It's what WWE used to be when it was good in the 90s.
So the Attitude Era.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's that. It's just that it's good. If you're into wrestling, look, we all know it's predetermined, but it's entertaining. It's fun. And the way I always view it is, if you like Corrie, people like Corrie or they like Emmerdale, they like the story, and there's a long tell story. They do that long-term stories, and you go, you can see what's going to happen here. You see, he's going to turn on him, and them two are going to, these two mates. You think of mates going, they're going to have a fight eventually. It's going to be hilarious to watch this. They don't have that WWE. They have like these 2 guys fight each other. Why? They just do. You're going.
Yeah, I think it was the worst thing in the world for what happened to WWE was when their rivalry with WCW collapsed.
Because rivalry is good. It keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, and we're seeing it across the football world.
Yeah.
With us and Man City, us and no, it's not Everton. Let's be a bit realistic. We're not talking about wrestling anymore. But the rivalries that the four clubs at the top of the league have with each other push everyone on, and it's across sport really. And you're seeing it more so now than ever before, especially when we're seeing it now in F1. No, so I was going to move on to the F1.
I mean,
Crawford.
Right.
I think Crawford beats Porter. Porter doesn't have the power to stop Crawford, and Crawford's just too skillful. I think he beats him on points. If not a late stoppage, he definitely beats him. But something to stick on record to watch Sunday morning.
Or if you're getting back from a late trip, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, I certainly wouldn't be staying up till 3 or 4 in the morning to watch it anyway. That's for sure. But the F1 bandwagon.
Right. I'll sit back because you're going to educate me this because this is a sport I have never took an interest in. Even when it's like the big names, as people say, Schumacher, it's just never interested me as a sport.
Well, you're down to the last 3 races of the season now. There's some like 12 points in it. There's 25 points for a win, 18 for second, or something like that. I can't remember exactly the point structure. But last weekend, Hamilton in Mexico probably had one of the best drives I've ever seen for a weekend of anyone, of any Formula One driver ever. The closest one I could think of was Jenson Button driving in Japan in the rain when he came in for change his tires something like 7 times in the race and went on to win it because he was always on the right tires at the right time. And that was the closest last weekend with Hamilton being disqualified from the sprint race. So he had to start the sprint race in last, getting that up to 5th from last or 6th from last in a 24-lap race. That determined the grid placings. He already had a 5-place penalty for taking a new engine. He started the last race, I think, in 10th, and he won it from 10th on the grid to put himself in with a shout of winning the World Championship. He's behind, I think, the point standings at the minute. Verstappen is on 332.5 and Hamilton's on 318.5. So there's really nothing in it. But Qatar is a brand new circuit. It's never been raced for F1. So don't really know what to expect from it. And you've got, I watched the free practice today, and the fastest car in free practice was Bottas in the Mercedes with Verstappen behind him. So we don't know, we can't really tell too much from that. But it's geared up in such a way now. The rivalry is so intense that McLaren and Red Bull are looking for every single bit of advantage that they can try to get going into these last 3 races. Mercedes have the faster car, and in my opinion, they have the better driver. I think Hamilton is without doubt the best driver on the grid, bar none. But he's behind, and all it takes is a puncher, a clip wing, and you got to come in and maybe take a 30-second pit stop to change a wing or something stupid, and you could be out of it. You could be got. But this race, these last 3 races, is probably for me the best championship I've seen in a in years. Where it's going to go down to the last race. It's going to go down to Abu Dhabi, and I mean, I've seen some of the guys in the chat saying, "Yeah, it's the best. It's the best championship in a long way." And I think for so many different reasons it is, because Verstappen, his father, Jos Verstappen, was a decent Formula One driver, but never got anywhere near the fastest cars. But the way I see it now, this is the last race with these type of cars, or this is the last year with these type of cars. Next year, the whole thing changes. The way the engines are designed, the way the aeros are designed, the electrics on the car. You're literally going to get brand new cars from next year on. And nobody knows how that's going to work out. Some teams that are maybe in the middle of the pack now will be using this year's car to work on their project for next year because they're only allowed so much testing. But I can't wait. This Sunday, I think it's 2 p.m. The race, the flag goes down, and it's a night race. So it'll be fascinating to see how this plays out, because the circuit's brand new. The cars are as good as they're ever going to get. And the drivers know that any one mistake, and your title race could be over, and that could go either way. I mean, I know it's a sport that you're not into. I understand that completely. I know a lot of people are like, look,
I know a lot love it though.
Once you're in the fastest car, you should win.
Yeah,
it's not like that. I mean, it's so. To get into the fastest car, you got to prove that you can drive in an absolute boat and do something with it. So it's very new how modern drivers are coming in now. They're coming in from Formula Ford, Formula 2 into Formula 1. They might come in for a year or two, but they're binning drivers off so often because they're just not up to the standard. And when you're seeing when someone makes, like Verstappen is only young, I think he's only 22 or 3. He's going to be a phenomenal driver in the next few years if Red Bull can carry on with the innovation that they've shown so far. I mean, I can't wait for it.
God, Laura's, I'm getting pelters off Laura here. I'm listening intently.
It's one of those things. It's like, I mean, it would be like if Chris was massively into horse racing and I would be sat there like that. You ever shut up?
You may have a chat about field hockey. That might bore you.
Hurling. I could talk about hurling or Gaelic football or whatever. No bother.
Gaelic football. We should do that one night because I've seen a bit of Gaelic football. I have no idea what's going on. But
I'll tell you what. I'll send you a few videos, and when it's on Sky next year, because Sky have it in when the championship kicks off.
Oh, okay.
And it's usually 5:15 on a Saturday, 5:30 on a Saturday. And the football season's over, so you're into, the sports of nothing. We'll definitely do something on Gaelic football and hurling.
Right,
sit down and do a watch along or something with it, because the amount of English people I know that sat down and watched hurling for the first time, and they're like, well, look at the state of these mad feckers here with hurleys and sticks, and they're beating each other over the head with them and everything.
Sounds great. See, that sounds much better than Formula 1. That sounds brilliant. What's going on?
None of them get paid for it. They're all doing it for free. They're all amateur.
That's cool. We've got a request from Craig Lau. Premier League is back. How about an hour segment talking through matches, scores, rants from other fans? Oh, sorry, that's the Friday forecast. The good. They were
subtle move, and we will subtly move on to our
fantasy football.
We can touch on the fantasy football.
Yeah, let's do that because you may have started doing it this year, haven't we?
Yeah, I'm absolutely
just to be clear. Just clear, we're nowhere near Shirley Lawson.
Yeah.
My word.
Right. You guys remember in the chat, we said at the start of the season, we all said, look, here's the link for the LFC Daytrippers Fantasy Football League, and everyone join in and everything. That'd be all fantastic and great and all. So like over 1,000, 1,200 people joined it in the end.
I think I'm 166th, which is a lot higher than I thought it would be.
I was quite I'm a little bit below that. No, we're not talking about it.
And I think out the trippers, Shawnee's third. See, like
Shawnee Lawson is third.
He's battering out.
It's mental. But
I still don't know what I'm doing on it.
No, I don't either. But I did a quick. If you were to pick the best fantasy football 11 on paper at the minute, you'd have Mendy in goal. You'd have Trent, Cancelo, and James as your back three.
Yep.
Salah, Gallagher, Mane, and Son, with Smith Rowe in midfield. Mikel Antonio and Jamie Vardy up front.
Yeah.
Now, in all fairness, I paid to watch that side play because
and you'd have Edouard coming off the bench because I think he's going to do well this year. The guy from Palace.
Yeah, I think stats wise, FIFA fantasy football points wise, Rudiger is the closest one.
Yeah.
Is the next closest one. But there's going to be no De Bruyne in fantasy football this weekend. So if you get your chance to take him out, get him out now.
Who's that, sorry? Who's out?
Kevin De Bruyne, 10 days.
Oh, yeah, he's got
COVID.
Yeah. And there's a bit of breakout in the... Yeah, because there's a doubt of Origi. I bet he's not in your fantasy team, but
no,
he's a potential... He could potentially be out the running, but as I've said, Origi running, that's a first. So, you never know.
It's still a case that they'd have to be careful with him just in case, because it takes a few days to come out.
Yeah, I suppose it's come out to the press now, but I would imagine they probably knew about it.
They would have known. They would have known
earlier.
Really quick.
So I assume Liverpool probably know now if Origi's in or out as a bench option. Yeah, so... and so is Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe's going to miss his first game of charge.
First game. Do you know, I said that's so Spursy, but it's not now. It's pure
it
Geordie
does.
now.
It does feel like that, doesn't it? It's just not quite fell for them. So, right, what game do you want to do first? We'll save the Liverpool game till last.
Leicester Chelsea. It's a massive game this because Chelsea have to come and hit the ground running again. You know, how do you find it? Because some injuries for both sides.
Yeah, because you pointed out, and I've forgotten. There's no Tielemans for Leicester, which I should realise. I talk about my fancy team. But this would be the first test of Chelsea with no strikers because Lukaku's definitely out. Kovac is out, and Werner's a doubt, but he's only just come back from a hamstring injury. You don't really want to rush someone from a hamstring, which meant, I mean, to be fair, they've got Havertz as the next one off the rack.
They probably would have played Havertz up front anyway.
Yeah.
So probably Havertz, Pulisic, Mount, maybe?
You'd have thought so, but it'd be interesting to have Leicester because they were, after the last international break, they played Arsenal and they were dreadful. They made Arsenal look like Brazil. You know, they were awful. And I wondered that they'll have learned from that because they don't want that. Interestingly, I heard Pete Selby on a different show, and he was saying like Maddison and Barnes didn't go with England. And you don't expect them to go with England, probably because they're not playing as well as they would like. But they're their two key players, and they've had a week's rest and training, which actually might play into their hands. So I've gone for a 1-1. Because Vardy in top six sides, he just scores.
He's top, and I think striker scorer of the league at the minute. So,
and I think Havertz will score for them. So I'm going for a hopeful 1-1. But look, if Chelsea won it wouldn't surprise me to be honest. But
I went for 2-1 Chelsea, and that was on the strength of Tielemans missing for Leicester because he's been so vital for the way they play. He doesn't get injured. You know, he hasn't missed a game since 2019.
He's played a lot of football for his age, though, hasn't he?
He has, but he's so vital to the way they play as well. So they're going to have to fill the space with him. But Leicester got some players coming back from injury as well.
I know what to say. Just to address this, I know he's only got 2 caps, but he goes away with England. He doesn't get picked, but he goes away. A bit like Jermaine Genius. Jermaine Genius was in the England squad, but didn't play. That's what I mean is they're used to Maddison not being there. He's either with England under 21s or England first team. Whether he plays is a different matter, but he's not there. So that's what they lose. Yeah,
the other thing for Leicester as well, they have pace up front in abundance and pace coming off the bench with Daka. You know, so
Daka's done well. Inacho, since missing that sitter against City, can't stop scoring now. Which is
it's going to be it's a good watch. It's a great way to get the Premier League's back. You know,
it's an exciting game. That's what you want really
to get into. Then for Villa and Brighton, Stevie Gerrard's first game in charge.
I've gone for a 1-1, only because if they hadn't got Steven Gerrard as manager, I'd have gone 1-0 Brighton. I just think home crowd, new manager, it'll give them a bounce, but there's something missing in Villa yet. Now maybe they needed that. Maybe that something is the manager change. You know, because there's plenty of talent in Villa, plenty of pace in Villa as well.
I look at Villa, right, and
their biggest problem though.
Their next 5 games, their next 5 games is for me very conceivable that they lose every single bloody one. It wouldn't surprise me if they lose tomorrow because Brighton are well capable of ripping them to shreds.
Yep,
you know, as we've seen. You know, so and I think Villa, there's some, like you said, I think there's something definitely wrong. Be it Tyrone Mings.
His form's probably the most worrying for them.
Yeah, the middle of the park as well. John McGinn isn't playing the same as what he has been, whether the energy in his legs, but they've been poor for the best part of this calendar year.
It's almost like losing your best player hurts you.
Boggs, Leon Bailey's a good player, but I think Gerrard is going to have to find a way of fitting Leon Bailey into
if he's anything like his Rangers,
Gerrard wants to play.
Yeah. Well, say if he plays like his Rangers days and what he did for the Liverpool Academy, Gerrard is very Rafa Benitez. It's very 4-2-3-1, defense first, look for the break.
Yeah, it's more Gerrard Julia. You know, he's he'll want to try and make Villa solid. You know, I think he'll stick with his 4-3. He played 4-3-3 for Rangers, and if he can use Leon Bailey in the same way he used Ryan Kent, then
Bailey's a better player than Kent.
Oh yes, Leon Bailey if he beds into the league, has the potential to go the whole hog.
Yeah,
because
people and some people, when you say he's very Rafa, find that surprising. But there's been a few interviews there's been a few interviews with players from the youth team who said what's he like, and they said like he's quite aloof, he's tactically obsessed, and he's really he basically sounds like a mini Rafa, which is fair. It's not a bad thing. He has slight differences. I think he's a little bit more attacking than Rafa, but that's the way he wants to play. So people think it's going to be free flowing attacking football. It's not really Gerrard. No. That's not really how Gerrard's teams plays.
No, and I don't think he'd be able to, not with the Villa squad that he has.
No.
I mean, first and foremost, he's going to want to get him safe. I've got Brighton. Well, I have it down as a 1-1.
I've got it as a 1-1.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if Brighton went and won that. And Potter will want to put a marker down as well. It's like, yeah, look, I know you're the big lad coming into the league and all that, but Potter's worked hard for his reputation that he's built up. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he has. He's done really well. The key for Gerrard, though, is keeping Danny Ings fit or find some form for Ollie Watkins.
Yeah, Ollie Watkins
he hasn't got going this year.
Yeah, he's there. It could be the man. It could be the way Dean Smith had him playing. I mean, they built up where they finished last season, that top 10 finish, for the first 4 months of last season, and come January, February, it was almost like they fell off a cliff. They couldn't buy a win. They were horrible to play against for a few months. And it was almost like the second half of the season, they fell off a cliff and they just never got going again. I think they've lost their last 5 on the bounce. So he's got to come and pick the dressing room up, as well as get him playing and bed in how he wants to play as well. It's going to be a fascinating watch. I mean, look, we'll skim up Burnley Palace.
2-1 Palace.
Yeah, snap.
We haven't conferred before, in case anyone thinks.
No, but both of them are in decent form. Palace are probably a really good run of form at the minute. You just hope now that Gallagher wasn't a flash in the pan.
Yeah, Palace
for the first few months.
Palace just got more pace.
They got more about they got more about them, haven't they? And they got more threats. And Benteke or Edward won't mind playing against your physical type striker. Burnley have got the one threat, obviously. Cornet, he's played at left back. Weird. So
he's good though. He has looked good though.
Palace away, you wouldn't know. Will they be able to carry their form away?
I
don't know, 2-1.
I thought 2-1 because I still think defensively they've got the lads to deal with a Burnley type. It's So I've been impressed with how they've done in the Vieira. I think that they'll probably finish a similar position they did under Roy Hodgson. They'll just do it in a bit more of an entertaining way, which the Palace fan is probably actually the ideal. Which is
they'll be happy enough.
We're not going to get relegated, but we're going to watch a bit more exciting football than we did. What more can you ask for?
Can't argue with that. Newcastle Brentford, second new manager of the day.
Yeah, Brentford fell off a cliff since losing their goalkeeper.
That's a huge loss, isn't it?
I know a lot have said, typical Liverpool, we didn't beat them, but the key for them getting that draw was Liverpool's ineptness to defend headers, but also their keeper had a really good game, and he's kept them in games. But the lad they've just got is just not as good. So him being out for 4 months is a bit of a killer. But I've got 2-1 Brentford because I just keep looking at Newcastle and going, I just don't see where their win comes from.
I went for 2-2 purely because he's had a bit of time to work with them, and they wouldn't have had many players away on international duty. So you'd hope that he's been working on shape and getting them into some kind of structure and way of defending. I don't think they'll win because I think mentally they're fragile. I think mentally they're really poor. And if they go one down, they could fall away easily.
The worry for Newcastle is we all talk about this money they've got in the club now. January could come too late for them at this rate.
Yeah, I said that when the new owners came in. I thought that at the time when the new owners came in, there was 14 games. There was 14 games between the time the owners took over and the window opening. That's a lot of points. The only saving grace for them is that some of the sides that are down and around the bottom of the league at the minute are absolute dire.
But so are they. So
yeah,
it's going to be
exactly. It's just going to be a case of who can string a win or two together to get a bit of confidence to get out of the hole that they're in, because that's all it takes at that end of the table is 2 or 3 wins in 5 or 6 games, and you can pull yourself out of it really quickly. But I went for a 2-2 draw.
Cool.
Norwich Southampton. Dean
1-1.
Smith.
1-1. New game. New manager. He'll probably get the bounce, and Southampton have a habit of shooting themselves in the foot in these sort of games.
Oh, it's 3-1 Southampton.
Yeah, I couldn't trust Southampton. It was surprising they won, but it just seems to be one of those sides that if you told me, if we found at the end of the day Norwich won 2-0, you go, it wouldn't surprise you. They're just such a Jekyll and Hyde side, Southampton. So I've gone 1-1 just for the new manager bounce.
We'll see. Watford Man United is the TV game over here at 3:00. How do you think Claudio's doing? He's got
okay, but he
got clapped against us. But look, we were clapping sides left, right, and centre by the time we played them, so that's no biggie. But the Everton game was crazy. That was absolutely nuts.
It's great though, wasn't it? It was great.
It is. But
it was worth it just for the Josh King interview afterwards.
Yeah,
that just made me smirk. I've gone for 2-2. No, listen, I could see United win 3-1, but United mentally at the moment just seem that bit fragile that if Watford take a lead or if it's only 1-1 with like 20 to go, they just seem like one knock and they're done. And this will be interesting. How do United do now? Because Paul Pomper, like him or loathe him, and he's lambasted for a lot of stuff. He's out now for 2 to 3 months, and I think United fans might go,
Pogba.
Yeah, he's pulled his thigh. Apparently pulled his thigh. Yeah, I saw a video. They were doing like shooting practice. He took a shot and he screams and just limps straight off, and that's it. Talk as he's tore his thigh muscle.
I didn't know that. I missed that.
Yeah, I mean, he may not be as bad as that, but I'm pretty certain he's definitely out. I'm sure someone said he's tore his thigh muscle. So, and I do think, whether you like Pomper or not, he's a bit of an X factor that you probably need in this sort of a game. Perfect flat track bully. I just think if you get Sarr playing, it's going to be a chance. But United got so many threats as well. They've got Fernandes, they've got Ronaldo, they've got plenty of players. I mean, it'd be interesting what happens with apparently Jesse Lingard has said Lingard's probably going in January. I mean,
apparently there was a photo on Instagram. I don't know if it was taken down, but it was a Jesse Lingard in a West Ham kit, a West Ham top. So whether it's a case of I have a feeling that there were players in the summer at Manchester United that were made promises, and those promises have been pulled out from under some of these players.
Yeah.
And I think there's a few looking for the exit now.
Well, I've just checked on Premier League on Premier injuries. Paul Pomper, he has already started his rehab. He wants to come back fresh and ready. It's not. If it's 2 months or 6 weeks or 12 weeks, I can't tell you at the moment, but he's already healing. So he's out, Cavani's out, and Varane is out. And that was always the risk of signing Varane.
Yeah.
Which is very good centre-back, very, very Joel Matip, very fragile.
See, my problem with Varane was I thought Varane was a brilliant centre-back when Ramos was next to him.
He's like a number two, isn't he? He needs a leader next to him.
When he was the dominant centre-back at Madrid with Militao next to him, they could be got at, and they were Madrid looked porous with that centre-back pairing. But with Ramos there, Ramos just dictated play, and he just told him, right, you stand here, ball will come to you. He just ran the game. I don't think he's as good as what he's. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as the hype has him. Nowhere near. So
that's the short-sightedness United is. What, within 2 months into the season, we're going to a back three, but you've only got four proper centre backs. If you're going to go with a back three, you need 5 centre backs because you need rotation options, especially if one's Varane, who has a questionable injury record, and the other one is Bailly, another good defender, has a questionable injury record. So bizarre. Who's next for us, Kev?
I went for 3-1. I think United. I think someone mentioned it in the chat there. I think they are flat track bullies. I think they'll definitely get enough chances against Watford.
The flat track's away from home. their home
But
form
they're
is
actually good.
horrendous.
Their home form is horrendous, but they're away. So I
Mm.
mean, it'll be an intriguing watch because, as you say, Sarr and Emmanuel Dennis could cause them some real problems. Watford, or sorry, Wolves against West Ham. West Ham.
I've gone for a 1-1. I've got Hwang getting an equaliser for Wolves, just because it's at Molineux.
I went for 2-1 to Wolves.
Oh, you're 2-1 Wolves?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
I went for a Wolves win because I think the results this season for Wolves haven't really shown the it hasn't shown in the points. I think they're a lot better than what their points total is. And now you got Jimenez back scoring. You got Hwang is a live wire.
He's looked good since they've signed it. He's a
Yeah.
clever signing.
Yeah, I think Obana is a huge miss. Obana's out for the season, and you wish him well. You wish him a good recovery because no one likes seeing that kind of an injury. It's a horrible injury.
Yeah, he was the leader for Zuma.
Yeah.
So Craig Lowe asks, if Lingard goes to West Ham, do Liverpool go for Bowen? I can't see West Ham selling Bowen in January.
No.
I also can't see Liverpool buying anyone in January, to be honest.
That's a conversation for another. Well,
we
can have it if you want. I mean,
yeah, because you may have had this debate offline, haven't we?
Yeah.
Your shack spot, as you like.
It annoys me with Liverpool because we saw Shaqiri in the summer and that freed up a spot for a non-homegrown player in the squad, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've got a squad that's one player light. Right, legitimately we have one player less registered than we're allowed. We're allowed, I think, 25 to be registered. We've registered 24 plus youth players, so we have the physical space in the squad to sign one player in January and not have to sell anyone to accommodate them into the squad. I think it's bordering negligent if we don't bring someone. If we don't have a plan to bring someone in January.
Yeah. The question that always get asked though is, if you like the model, you don't like the model, what you're paying for it with? Because we know what our model is. It's generally most it's recoup through sales. Now we haven't really bought anyone. We haven't bought loads apart from Kanate. So listen, if it was me,
Kanate was well funded. The Kanate deal was well funded by sales. Yeah. And
if it was me, I'd bring an attack. I'd bring another attacker in, especially with losing Salah and Manny in the AFCON.
Yeah.
Now I do think Premier League clubs will do a deal that they will be allowed. They'll be allowed to play up to the Chelsea game, and then they'll be told to leave.
That's what I'm hoping.
Because this stuff that's come out saying, "Oh, they have to leave on Boxing Day." Yes, that's been leaked to the press. There's no way Liverpool and United and City have just gone, "Oh yeah, that's fine." They'll have done it because listen, Mendy's a massive loss for Chelsea. They have to put Kepa in goal for 2-3 weeks. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't trust him for 2-3 weeks, would you? No. City's less than for because listen, Mahrez is brilliant, but they have lots of brilliant wingers, so they could probably cope that Mahrez for a couple of weeks. I think Liverpool and Chelsea too, it hurts the most. Yeah. I would be surprised if you don't see Salah and Mane start against Chelsea and then they fly off that night.
Then they fly off together. Barry Devaney makes a great comment there. There's a new TV deal done in America with NBC that continues the Premier League coverage in the States for another 6 years. And it guarantees every Premier League club an extra 20 million. Now
it's a big yacht for John, that, isn't it? Sorry. That'll get the views now. We can clip that later.
The thing is with this NBC deal, the guaranteed extra 20 million across the board for 20 clubs over 6 years. It sounds a lot. 20 million sounds a lot, but when you break it down, that covers, 2 top player wages. It's not an absolute fortune in today's.
Maybe that's Salah's contract extension paid for.
Yeah, it's 2 billion. Laura's there is 2 billion over the 6 years. So when you break it down, it's 2 billion over 6 years. Divide that by 20 clubs. Divide that by 6. And it's not exactly going to be it's not going to be structured in a way where the top clubs aren't going to benefit slightly more. I think there might be a commitment as well with clubs having to go on US preseason tours. I mean, the nuts and bolts of it will all come out in the next few days. The deal was only essentially done because this is only a TV deal for international coverage. It's not for the UK or anything like that. This is their international. Yeah, it's 400 million over 6 years, $2.4 billion. So when you convert dollars into pounds. But it's still a chunk of change. And I don't believe for a second that we should be struggling to fund a 20, 30 million pound player.
No, but I think for clubs lower down the pyramid, lower down the Premier League, coming out of COVID, 20 million
massive.
Not quite keeps the lights on, but
keeps the wolves from the doors for a while.
Eases a lot of financial pressure. You wouldn't surprise me if certain clubs, I'm not going to name clubs because I don't know the financial situation, they'll look at that and go, that saves me having to sell a player.
Yeah.
You know, that I don't want to. I'm not desperate to sell a player now because that will actually cover the gap I've got in my budget.
Look, I was watching the international games at the weekend or during the week, and you saw the Netherlands game where there were no fans. And tonight I was looking at Monaco and Lille. I think it was Monaco and Lille. There were very few fans in the ground. Some parts of the continent are going to go back to lockdown. Now, I hope to God that the Premier League or the UK doesn't have to go down that road. Eventually, it may for a short period of time. We don't know, but
the way they run this country, I'll be careful. Political things.
It's just one of those things that, especially not so much for the Premier League, but maybe more down the pyramid. It's the old third division, fourth division clubs. If they weren't able to have fans in, even if it was just for the sake of 2 months or so, that could really hurt a lot of these clubs.
Wasn't there more money pumped into the lower?
Yeah, they had, it was an agreed payment, 20 million, I think, spread all the way down the pyramid. Each club got a certain amount of money to help them get along.
Yeah. Oh, mate, Red Steve's back in the comments. Poor EPL clubs explains why Chelsea have trebled their price tickets. Yeah, they snuck that in, didn't they?
I didn't. I saw bits of it. Do you know what the story with that was?
Part of the tickets for next year for one of the stands is going to triple in price. So it's like under, I think it's $2,500. And there's obviously lots of Chelsea fans are kicking off, going, I can't afford that.
Christ almighty!
You know that's the ultimate price. I mean, listen, a season ticket in London's not cheap anyway.
No,
I mean London in general is not cheap. Yeah. But when you look at that, you're thinking like tripling it. That's bad, isn't it? I do think a certain other clubs have done it. It'd be a bigger story.
Yeah, with London clubs, and I suppose you look at it with Spurs to a point with the new stadium.
You can get away with that.
Arsenal,
it's a new stadium. Arsenal has always been expensive, but they haven't. But I know Arsenal fans will correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they've done massive hikes over the last couple of years. Liverpool, to be fair, have frozen theirs for the last. Liverpool's been frozen now for 4 or 5 years. Yeah. United, I don't think has pushed theirs much. City don't push theirs hard.
City can't. Let's be fair.
Well, yeah, they can't, but also they don't. Everton,
no. Up north, it seems across the board they're a bit more realistic in what's
because you'll tell people. I mean, I suppose if they put the price on people say I'm not going to come, there is a wait list people will do it.
Yeah, but I think
it's just there we go. Laura Duffy, if in doubt, ask Laura. It's gone from 1,250 to 3,900. Jesus wept. That's a lot, isn't it?
That's insane. I mean, look, I love football as much as the next person, but there are limits. You know what I mean? And look, I mean, at the end of the day, it goes back to what we were talking about with boxing. I think a large part of the problem with boxing was when they took it off terrestrial TV and you took it away from the masses of people who had a passing interest. Football is the main sport across the UK and Europe. And they can go to the well, but I think there's a limit to what households can afford, and it is a luxury at the end of the day, so they've got to be wary of it. But let's quickly skip back to these.
To put that into context, that 3,900 that would pay, my brother could buy his season ticket for the next 4 seasons and have change.
Wow.
To put that into context, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. Quickly do. I mean, look, we chatted about this last night. Liverpool Arsenal. I'm sticking with my 2-0. I'm happy enough with that. How about yourself?
I've said 3-1 because Liverpool seem to score 2-3 goals most games, but we've forgotten how to defend a little bit. So I've got 3-1. I'm expecting Tsimikas to start left back.
Yeah.
And I think then the debate is it Chamberlain? Is it Henderson? With Klopp, the weird thing Klopp said, and I found it very strange, which was Robbo's injured, but it's not too bad, but he might be a doubt for the weekend. Henderson is more injured, but we'll wait and see for the weekend.
Yeah.
So the one who's more injured.
I don't think Hendo's trained with the lads. So
no,
whenever you see someone who hasn't trained with the 11,
he might make the
virtually rules them out. It virtually rules them out.
Which then means it's Thiago, Fabinho, Chamberlain.
Yeah. Would you have Chamberlain or Thiago on the right or left? Which way would you spin it?
Thiago on the left, Chamberlain on the right. Although it exposed Trent because that's what
the other way.
Really well. Thiago seems to prefer the left. Don't know why. I think when we played, we always seem to play left. I'm happy either way.
If Thiago was on the right, on the left, and Trent takes up that position high in on the right, you're trusting Ox to be able to cover behind Trent. But look, at the end of the day, I don't think we change to accommodate a player. I think a player has to get his arse in gear and sort himself out.
Yeah, I suppose if you keep him on the left, which is where he played against West Ham, which is where I think he also played against Madrid. Interestingly, he was good. That position, he was really good against Madrid. He was shite against West Ham. He wasn't to be fair, he wasn't the only one.
No,
there was quite
scorers on the day.
Salah double, and he's got to do it at some point. Van Dijk.
And who's your one to watch? Who has to play well on the day?
Fabinho. Has to play well on the day because and this is not me baiting him. This is not me just throwing a bit of shade to piss people off. But if you look at most of the draws we've had, apart from the one he missed, he was shite against Brentford. He was shite in the other draws we've had, and that's how good he is. When he's brilliant, Liverpool tick. When he's off form, and he has been a little off form in those sort of games, he just shows because he covers so much because he's so good.
Yeah.
So it's a backhanded compliment, but I think you need Fabinho at his best.
Yeah, I like Steve's comment there.
Which one, Fred Steves?
Yeah. Ox is our right back cover, remember?
Oh, bless him. The abuse.
Oh, that conversation.
I was watching that one. I can feel the heat coming off my laptop for that one. I mean, in terms of Arsenal, Xhaka's out, which is probably a plus for them because he always looks like a walking red card to me. And Aubameyang and Partey apparently are rated 50-50.
Yeah.
So Smith Rowe, look, the key for Arsenal is the two kids, Smith Rowe and Saka.
Smith Rowe and Saka.
They're brilliant. They're absolutely brilliant. Look,
what's the story with Pepe? Is he getting a game or is he coming off the bench?
I think he's playing quiet. I think he's playing quiet. I think so we say quietly, he's quietly getting about his business. I don't think he's doing anything spectacular, but I don't think he's poor. I can't pronounce his name. I like the right back they've brought in.
Tomiyasu.
He looks good.
Tomiyasu,
he looks like a proper fullback.
He looks a defender who likes to defend, doesn't he?
And it's not bad getting forward.
Yeah.
Gabriel, I think will do well. Has done all right for him. I think he'll just evolve. I think he's a good defender.
I think he's got to push to the Brazil squad for the World Cup. He's going to be in there with a shout.
Tierney, when he's fit, he's really good, but it's when he's fit. And look, I'm going to be there, going to be facing the moment. I laugh when they say Ramsdale. I thought he was dreadful.
No, I thought he's
done well for him.
To be fair.
He has done well for him, but we'll see long term. Is this just a purple patch, or is he?
This is it. This is the thing. Arsenal have beaten who they're supposed to beat, and they've struggled a couple of times, got draws. But this is a massive test for both clubs because while we've been racking up points and doing okay, I don't think we've been.
I thought Laura said class. I thought they sold him. Is he still there?
I thought he was gone. Is he? I thought didn't he go on loan to Schalke?
Yeah.
Did he come back?
Yeah. Do you reckon Kolasinac is like when we had Markovic, where he come back for his season and people go, "You still here?" I thought he'd gone. That's not what told him. And then they look at and they go, "Oh no, his number's still on his his number still on his dresser. Oh, jeez, I thought he'd gone.
I know he went to Germany and he had a massive falling out with the coach. He had a massive falling out with your man that was at Huddersfield, I think. I don't know if it was him or whoever took over from him at Schalke. It was David Wagner, or might have been the guy who he took over from him. And
I think it's the guy who took over because I think Wagner
he went absolute bonkers because he was either being taken off or he wasn't being played how he thought he wanted to play and all. That was nuts.
Anyway, who have we got left? Spurs, Leeds. Ooh. I'm saving the best to last.
Save the best to last. And Spurs, Leeds.
2-1 Spurs. Leeds just look.
You're copying my homework.
We're just in tune, aren't we, mate? That's what it is. Yeah. Leeds, look, injuries aren't helping, but I'll say it once again. I know lots love Bielsa. I know lots say he's a genius. He's brilliant. He may be all those things, but he's changed what Leeds were really good at, which is we had Joe on the show. We had a big debate about perception of football stats and how people feel. From January to May last year, Leeds had one of the best home defensive records going. And all they did was they just closed gaps and made it difficult for teams to play behind. They didn't go a Burnley and a camp on the box, but they closed the gaps and they made themselves hard to break down. Still killers on the break. Yeah. Brilliant. This year we're going back to what Leeds were like before January. All guns blazing, dead wide open, and you're just going, what's going on? Now, admittedly, injuries haven't helped them. You know,
Bamford's a big miss, isn't he?
Bamford's a big miss. You know, they have got key injuries, which you know is showing a problem. But again, is that second season syndrome, as Barry definitely saying? Is that not enough squad depth? Is it a little bit of tactical naivety? I think it's a bit of all three, to be honest. So, yeah, I think 2-1 Spurs. As much as it pains me to say it, I'd be surprised if Spurs lost this one. But Spurs,
for me,
Spurs done that to me many a time.
Spurs. I did a pod last night with Joe and Matt from the Tottenham blog, formerly of this parish.
Oh yeah, well done on Matt. He got an award, didn't he?
Yeah, congratulations to Matt Hayes. He got an award for Young Podcaster of the Year. Came second in the awards for that.
Fantastic fair play. He works hard. He works hard, that lad.
Yeah. Spurs haven't had a shot on target since the 46th minute of Conte's first league game.
God.
The game against Everton was pure dire. Both managers went in not to lose.
I managed to get a way of watching that. I'll put it like that.
Who did you offend?
Oh, hell. I thought myself.
What cardinal sin did you commit that week?
I thought it might be a good game because they're both car crashes. So actually, this could just be hilarious. The only car crash is the Holgate red card. Apart from that, nothing happened.
It's for me. I think Conte is so rigid in his 3-4-3. How he wants his side to play.
I'd be interested in what they do in January because there's no way he's
serious injury problems as well. They got some serious injury problems because Højbjerg didn't play for Denmark against Scotland. Who else was missing?
Red Steve's on fire tonight. Fastest talking man on YouTube. He is the fastest talking man on YouTube.
From Limerick. It's a Limerick thing.
It's like a machine gun telling you stats, and it.
Romero's suspended.
In some ways, that's a blessing.
Yeah, it's.
Mina's out. Decore's out, which is a big loss for Everton. I think Decore's the key to that midfield. They're missing Calvert. They're missing Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, I went 2-1 for Spurs, but it wouldn't be.
Skip's
suspended as well. So I don't know how he's going to line up in midfield. But he lines up with.
And Ndombele?
He can't play that. Not in a 3-4-3.
Yeah,
he'd be massively exposed. Even Allen might give him a game.
We'll talk about.
Calvin Phillips. Sorry, Calvin Phillips.
Yeah,
for Leeds.
We'll talk about 3-4-3 shortly because another club I know plays that formation, plays it very well.
Look, I went 2-1 for Spurs, but I wouldn't be surprised if Leeds got something out of that. It wouldn't surprise me. Rafinha is on fire.
Yeah,
but so best to last.
Man City with no Kevin De Bruyne and big red Rafa's Blue Army. It's gone well, isn't it?
We've seen it.
Agent Rafa's doing a brilliant job. Listen, look, jokes aside, look, I obviously have a few blue mates who tell me it's dire. It's horrendous to watch. They're absolute dog turd. not mincing the words, if you don't enjoy it. But, and this is where they can say I'm being biased because he's an ex-Liverpool manager, but you've had Champions League winning manager Rafa Benitez, you've had Champions League winning manager Antonio Conte, you've had Koeman, who's gone on to manage Barcelona, you've had Martinez, who's now manager of Belgium. They're not mugs, these fellas. So at what point do the fans not turn around and look at the owner and more so the structure? Because they're paying, Rafa and Ancelotti are paying for mistakes made 4 or 5 years ago where they bought crap for big money. And now because of FFP, they can't spend any money. And now the squad is so thin of talent, it's untrue. Yeah. I kind of think they are where they should be because, look, don't get me wrong. If they had a fit Calvert-Lewin playing up front, I think they'll be a little bit higher because he's done really well for him. But
he's a good player.
I just look at Everton going, there's just not enough in that squad to change it up. Best signing for them has been Damari Gray. He's done really well for him.
For the money they paid, 1.5
smart signing.
He really always looked like he was a bit of a live wire when he was at Leicester.
He just couldn't get a regular game at Leicester, which
went off to Germany, did okay in Germany. Didn't pull up any trees, but
I think Townsend's done okay. Townsend's always a steady winger.
Yeah,
could pull off the odd spectacular. Richarlison's Richarlison. He will score goals. He'll wind up opposition fans. They've got some good players. I think Dean is good. I think Godfrey's good. I think Holgate has fell into the Barkley trap, which is Barkley thought he was Mr. Everton and got too pumped up. I think Holgate's doing that because he's thrown in some. Well, he got sent off for a daft challenge, and he threw in a wild challenge in the previous game where he was looking to give away a penalty against Spurs. It was outside the box, but it was a ridiculously stupid challenge. And Jordan Pickford he's a bit of a liquor also. Yeah, so I've gone 3-0 City.
I went 2-0 because, I went 2-0 because for me, the way City are playing at the minute, they'll get their win and then they'll just rest on the ball. They'll just bore you to tears. And
I just think Everton will kick an extra one in just to make sure.
And that's it. If someone presents itself, they'll take it, but they're not going to push themselves any further than they have to. And they're missing. Laporte is out suspended. De Bruyne is now going to be missing for a few weeks. Silva could be a miss, but Gundogan's back.
Laporte is Laporte out as well, or is it
Laporte is suspended? Yeah. But look, they've got more. They might have an issue with the keepers because they were both away. Stefan was away with the US and Ederson away with Brazil. But Ederson got back early enough. But whether
always play Scott Carson.
Look, I don't think
he's still there.
Yeah, I don't. See, this is what you got, the English quota thing. You got to have a certain amount. The Scott Carsons of this
that's
world.
The greatest job. It's like Rob Green when he was Chelsea third choice, and he just said it was great. He said he learned loads actually watching Petr Cech and all those.
And watching coaching and what have you.
He said he learned loads, which he said was really good. And to be fair, jokes out, Rob Green, whenever he's been on Sky, and they asked him to do a bit of goalkeeper analysis, it's actually it's really interesting because it's actually interesting to hear a keeper talk about tactically or technically what a player does wrong.
What a keeper does, it's mad, isn't it?
I don't know what the goalkeepers doing it to us. It's interesting.
It is. There's who's the one that does the podcast? Ben Foster, yeah, and he's really good at it. His stuff is really worth watching as well.
Yeah. He's good talk. It's good talk with Ben Foster. He's had obviously a varied career as well, which helps.
Yeah, out of 10 games this weekend, then us aside, there's a lot of games there, top of the league, bottom of the league, that are kind of important fixtures. You're getting into the stage now. This for the next probably 2 months, where you'll start to see the league opening up into your groups. Top, middle, bottom. At the minute, it's all really still bunched together. So the way things are looking for the next few months, how are you expecting the league to pan out?
I'm sort of expecting the top 6 to be us, City, Chelsea, West Ham, and probably Man United. And then Leicester about that neck of the woods. That's probably a top 6.
Yeah.
Tottenham maybe will break into it. I'm yet to be convinced.
I think he's got an awful lot of work to do there.
Yeah. Arsenal, I just think will just do what they always do, which is they'll go and run 4 or 5 games, do really well, and then they'll tail off and then come back again. So the Arsenal model of going up and down, they'll finish 7th, 8th, probably. I think we'll probably see in the next 2-3 weeks the bottom 6 be cut off, and that'll be a bottom 6, and then you'll just have a nice midpoint.
Is there any standout game there that you're looking at and think, yeah, I'm going to make time, I'm going to go and watch that?
I'm going to record Leicester Chelsea because I'm going to miss the game because
you're away tomorrow, aren't you?
No, but I'm watching my daughter play. We'll talk about where I'm going in a minute.
Yeah.
So I'm going to miss that, and then I'm going to have to watch our game on my phone. We'll wind up in a minute. I think Spurs Leeds will be a good game, just because I'm not quite sure what's good. It's got the potential to be horrendous, but it also has the potential to be quite an exciting game. So
for me, it's Watford Man United. I want to see what Man United turn up. Are they going to get their arse in gear and play with some kind of a structure to how they attack and defend? Is Claudio clever enough to be able to pull them apart? I think he is. I think that could be a proper game. But that's the Premier League fixtures for the weekend. And you had your away trip to Durham. How'd that go?
Oh, it's great. Took my daughter to a second long away trip. So AXA paid for the coach because last weekend was women's football weekend. They tend to do it for this international break because there's no Premier League men's games, so they try and get as many people watching. I think they said it was nearly 2 million people watched women's football this weekend in terms of because they put it on Sky, it was on BBC.
It was on BBC as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I had to get a 7 o'clock coach from Anfield, which is a good start. Got to Durham. So for people who don't know, Durham are one of the few women's sides that aren't associated with a men's team as such. They are sort of self-funded. They have got a men's team, but it's like a conference level. They're not connected like a Liverpool or a Chelsea, something like that. And every year we've gone to Durham, it's a slog. And it's normally Durham win, and we get bullied. And to be fair, 2-0 flattered Durham. It's on an AstroTurf pitch. It's a small, tight pitch. They're very, very physical. They're very good at what they do. Liverpool came out 2-0 win. Leanne Kiernan got the first goal. She's now 7 goals in the last 7 games. She's absolutely flying. The ironic thing is, speak to somebody else, I think we said, she's a bit like Dirk Kuyt. She works really hard on the wing, but probably just doesn't get the goals for it. But, she's a good player. Ever since I've said that, she can't stop scoring. I wish I'd said it earlier. And then the left back, Taylor Hines, who we got from Everton, cracking header, made it 2-0. And Liverpool just deservedly won and now a point clear at the top. So we're currently 11 games undefeated in all comps. And the last 5 league games, we haven't conceded a goal. So we're becoming what I would call a serious football team.
We're 9 games into a 22-game season, and we're sat on 19 points ahead of Durham.
20 points. 6 games.
Sorry, we're on 20. London City, 19. Yeah, Durham 18, Crystal Palace 15, and Bristol City 14. Bristol City were in the WSL 1 last season.
Yeah, a bit like us. So
they were up there for a long. They were up there even. They were one of the founders of the league because I remember a guy I used to work with. He was a coach for the City's. He was one of the coach. He's on the coaching staff for the women's side, and they were funded fairly well by by Bristol City as a club.
Yeah, well, Matt Beard was actually there for the last 6 months, or less than 6 months, because their manager went on maternity leave. So he tried to keep them. Well, we kept them competitive. There was too much to do. We poached 3 of their players on relegation. So we've took the centre back, Chaz Matthews, who actually went to Bristol City from Liverpool.
Yeah,
we brought back Yana Daniels, who went from Liverpool to Bristol City. She's now come back, and a central midfielder called Carla Humphreys, nice technical player. Hasn't had many minutes. I think the physicality of the league doesn't quite suit her game. She's definitely one for. Probably one a bit further on the league, and definitely if we get promoted, that's more of the ideal.
How's that looking now? Because you've seen pretty much every game this season. How are we shaping up?
We're in a good spot. We're in a good spot.
New manager.
Yeah, new old manager. Yeah, because he was our manager a few years back when we won the league. We're looking good. The big thing that's helped us is we lost the first game to London Lionesses, who were second. which is a bit of a blow. A couple of silly draws. But then we switched it up and we play 5-2-3. It's a crackers formation because
kind of like the old. No, it's kind of like what Chelsea used to play under Conte.
I've not seen a Liverpool play formation, but it's perfect for us because one thing Liverpool have got is we've got lots of good centre backs who like to put the foot on the ball. So it's perfect for them. Whoever we play at fullback, Taylor Hines, no one plays on the left, and on the right we have young Charlotte Wardlaw, who's on loan from Chelsea, or we have Razza Roberts, Welsh international. Suits their games perfectly. The key to it is we have a Welsh international. She's only 22, Kerry Holland. I was actually lucky enough to interview her. I think it's my first ever football I've interviewed. So it's still on our channel if you want to watch it. She's the engine of that midfield too. She is perfect for that role. And then the second midfielder has either been young Scouser Missy Bow, who captained the club in the cup game this week. So she's now the youngest ever women's captain, taken over from Gemma Bonner. She's not the main captain, but she's been filling in. Yeah. Or we have Northern Irish international Rachel Finesse, who is really good pro, very serious footballer, gets goals, but is no nonsense and gives you that physicality. And then up front, Leanne Kiernan's moved from the wide to the number 9 because of injuries. Mel Lawley, who could still play WSL now, ex-Man City. And then on the other side, we've had Yana Daniels filling there. We've had Ash Hodson become the record appearance holder. So I've reeled off about 14 names there.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we had like 12 or 13 and then a couple of injuries. And you had 5 kids on the bench.
You're in real trouble, yeah.
Whereas now you look at the bench going, there's 1 or 2 kids because it's still good to give them the opportunity. But lots of experience. Lots of players go, well, she could play or she could play. And they've still got the main striker who we bought from Rihanna Dean, another young striker. More of the traditional now, more of a physical presence. We've not seen her since the Bristol game, which is about the 4th game of the season. She's had a foot injury, which looked like the biggest blow we had. And you wouldn't know she was missing, which is a compliment to how the rest of the team's doing. So it's looking good. So as of today, I was going to just watch the Liverpool game and then try and get some highlights of the Sunderland game.
I was going to ask you that. Are the games streamed live on LFC TV or is it on the YouTube channel? Or...
So it's a bit of a mixed bag. So the FA have something called the FA Player, which shows every WSL game for free.
Right.
And it shows 1 championship game each round. And then Liverpool have been pretty good is if you get agreements from the other club, they will try and stream it on the YouTube channel or on Liverpool TV. So the last couple of games have been on that. They've been pushing that quite hard, Liverpool. And what they also do is for every home game, there is a free coach from Anfield to Tranmere. Again, just getting more people into the games.
If you're local in the area.
If you're local in the area, if you're a season ticket holder or a fan card holder, it's free. You just have to register for your ticket, but you get it for note. Put it this way, for me and my daughter, it's cost us £70 for a season ticket, and that's all home games and all cup games. So
great,
and you're going to see
kids along to see games as well.
And you're going to see international football, and it's a good way of bringing them in. And because of the softening now of the COVID rules, 2 or 3 players are allowed to now at least approach the fans for selfies, autographs, which is great for kids. It's great for my daughter. So that side is good. But as of about 7 o'clock today, I think I messaged you. Someone actually they've got a spare seat in the car, so I'm off to Sunderland at 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So I'll be watching the second half of the Liverpool men's game on my phone while Seth and Sunderland watching the women play Sunderland, which is going to be a hard game. Sunderland had a bit of a mixed season, so they've come up from the Northern Prem. Now Sunderland's background is they used to be a WSL side, and when they rejigged the leagues and rejigged the financial rules, Sunderland got diddled. And Sunderland got dropped to the Northern Prem, so they got dropped 2 divisions.
Oh, that's mad.
If you Google about it, it's not. It wasn't right what happened to Sunderland. They weren't the biggest team. They probably weren't the most attractive team, but it shouldn't have happened the way it did. So I'm pleased actually because I know a couple of Sunderland fans that were doing well. But yeah, so I'm off to Sunderland. So it's cost me a £5, and I'm gonna just obviously give the guys give me less some petrol money, so I'm off to Sunderland.
I'd definitely encourage anyone local to, if you can get to the games, go. It's a great experience. I've been to a few over here, like Limerick. They play a lot of the games at UL where my daughter is going to college, and I've seen a few games out there. And you know what? It's nice to get out, and it's nice to be able to go and see a game without a break in the bank. and you do see some decent quality stuff.
Just to address, I've seen a few people say the goal we conceded was piss poor. If you watch the men's team, mate, it's not much fucking better. The women's goalkeeping actually is the biggest improvement in the leagues, and I think if you watch any sort of level of football, the goalkeeping is the next area that is the last to develop. So I used to watch AFCON football on BBC Two, and the goalkeepers then used to think like it's literally some fella you've got off the street. It's not a professional goalkeeper.
Poor standard, now,
all African goalkeepers are brilliant. So it's always last thing. I mean, the goal we did the other night was in a cup game. It was our third choice goalkeeper. She's only a youngster on loan from Brighton. The main goalkeeper we've got is Rachel Laws. Brilliant. Really good goalkeeper. Knows the stuff. Really good with the ball at her feet. And absolutely can't stop her talking, which is kind of what you need for a keeper. The biggest concern I've got for Liverpool is the goalkeeper, in the sense that if Rachel Laws gets injured, we're going to have to rely on the youngster to go in goal.
Yeah,
and that's the case. Because unfortunately for Liverpool, young Riley Foster, who's our backup goalkeeper, Canadian international, good young keeper, sadly was involved in a car crash visiting friends in Sweden. Poor girl now is in a back brace, and I think has done some damage to her knee. So I don't know when we're going to see her playing again. I've just took it as it'll be next season. It's such a shame because
just hope that she actually gets back to playing.
Yeah,
so because kind of serious injuries like that,
they seem positive that she'll be back playing. I think she's been well looked after by the club, but it's a really unfortunate injury. Can't be. I mean, look, it's a car crash. It can't be helped. It's one of them. But if you got to see the Conti Cup, that was she made a cracking save in the penalty shootout. And to be fair, Conti Cup, if you ever got to it, it's hilarious. It's a weird competition how they do it. So what they do is 2 teams of 4, top goes through, and then best second place I go through. 3 points for a win, 1 point for a draw. Nothing new there. If you draw your league game, straight to a penalty shootout, you win the penalties, you get a bonus point. So every game, even if you play like a really hard side and you battle for a 0-0, you've got a penalty shootout to nick an extra point. And do you know what? They're so hilarious. They're so fun. So we played Villa, who were like, struggling in WSL.
Yeah.
Got a 1-1 draw with, a fringe side, and then beat them on penalties. It was great. Because it's just like watching penalty shots go, this is a bonus point. This is brilliant. So we're on like 7 points. So it does make adds a bit of edge to games. Because if you're thinking, we're going to get battered here, we'll play for the draw. Because actually, you know what? You could get 2 points for a penalty shoot. So actually, you're not in that bad a position then. So fingers crossed. I'm hoping I'm going to go to my second trip to the Northeast in a week.
Up over the Pennines again.
Up over the Pennines and see another win. Because look at the other fixtures. Lionesses have got Charlton away. They probably should beat Charlton away, so they're only a point behind us. And Durham have got Coventry away. Coventry aren't very good. I think we beat them comfortably, so I think they'll win.
Yeah. Because it's only top goes up.
Only top goes up, which just makes it hard. And then the interesting one, Bristol have got Watford, who sadly got beat 11-0 by Tottenham in the Cup.
That's going to hurt. That's going to leave a mark.
Which is, I must admit, it was a shock result because it's a bit like Watford aren't great. I think they are going to go down again this year, but I wouldn't say they're a side that you would expect to get drummed 11-0. It's very an old school.
That's kind of you'd expect to see.
But again, I don't know what stuff. The thing we don't is I don't know what side Watford played. Watford could have played all their kids. Tottenham could have played their first team, and then you go in. Well, that's why it's such a big gap. Because to be fair to Watford, their focus is trying to stay in the league because it's their first year. This is their first year back in Championship. So fingers crossed.
Yeah. I wanted to ask the guys in the chat, the ones who've I appreciate you guys who are still here. I know the show has gone on for an hour and 15. Really appreciate it. Normally, I like boxing, UFC, football, F1. Is there anything that you guys in the chat on a weekend to be like, yeah, I'm going out of my way to watch this, and we're not talking about it? Is there anything that you guys would like us to cover on a Friday night, and that you guys would, like to hear about, or us to go and research? We'd love to know, love to find out, because you're getting to that point of the year now where the boxing and the UFC is winding down. I love talking about sport in general, And if you guys want us to focus on the league, on the Premier League, on the football leagues across Europe, we can certainly do that. Or if there's sports on that's coming up on the weekend, if you could let us know. Steve.
Strictly. God,
yeah, my research beyond that. Look, what I'll do is I'll swap myself out from my missus, and she'll sit down and tell you who to vote for.
Is I'm a celebrity of sport? Is I'm a celebrity of sport?
It could be.
We can talk about that. That's a bit of fun.
Yeah, but no, it's about the one thing on a Saturday night, because the amount of sport I watch in the week, I leave the front room or I sit in the corner quietly and just I'll watch. I have no choice. I do my utmost and I sit down and watch it. But
how did
NFL?
How did Mr. Someone take it that it's a late kickoff tomorrow?
Yeah, Reclaimer. I've tried NFL so many times. Phil Casey.
We should get Phil on. Phil's really good at explaining it.
Phil loves the NFL and he loves American sport in general. I have a very passing interest. I've watched NBA, baseball, but I think you have to have. I know who the club. I know the teams. Yeah, Craig, cricket. When the Ashes come around, for sure. I mean, there's a big story today with Tim Payne resigning as the Australian captain just before the Ashes series. Look, if you don't know why he resigned, then Google it. It's there. I'm not going to go into it, but American sport, I think I'm very casual with it. I mean, the MLS are going into their playoff season at the minute now, where the league's over and you're into the playoffs and stuff. So that could be interesting to watch on the nights over the next few years.
A friend of mine is big into this college basketball more than NBA.
Apparently college sports in the States are really huge. They really are huge. But I think I don't have the expertise to be able to talk about it in depth, apart from the fact that I know that their watched is unreal.
What I would say is, if someone says like college basketball, gives a bit of a hint of like where's good for me and Kat to do a bit of research.
Yeah, I mean North Carolina, which league, which conference should we be focusing on? Is it UCLA? Is West Coast, East Coast? I would be steering away from the Northeast, but I'd imagine it would be the Carolinas, Texas.
What about ice hockey?
Indiana. When I lived over there, I used to watch a lot because I lived in New England.
I used to watch a lot of Maple Leaf stuff when I could get it.
Yeah, I used to watch when I lived in Connecticut. The closest team to us was Hartford Whalers, and they were literally only about 30-minute drive from where I lived. So we'd often go to Hartford Civic Center and watch them when they were playing. And between them, you had the Boston Bruins, you had Buffalo Sabres, New York Islanders, New York Rangers, all within the Big Ten. I'll do some stuff on it this week if I can, and we'll come back to it for sure. Okay.
Beach volleyball.
Yeah, Steve, that's on the band list, dude. Yeah, as much as I try to say, honestly, I'm really only watching that. Honestly, that doesn't wash with the missus, I'm afraid. The championship, Naguib.
Let's say
the championship
post Christmas is when it gets fun. It's when it gets fun.
Yeah, I like watching the championship because, I mean, look, I saw a stat in the week. I mean, Sepp van der Berg, everyone took the mickey out of him when we signed him.
Isn't he playing right wing back?
He's playing at right wing back for Preston, and he's leading the championship in assists, tackles, and interceptions. Not assists, sorry. Interceptions, blocks, and tackles for any defender in the championship. He's absolutely playing out of his skin. And for a big kid, he was what, 6'4", 6'3", 6'4"?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
To be able to play right wing back shows to me that he can, with ball at his feet, he can play. So yeah, definitely for sure, Naguib. And Najib, if we can definitely get into the championship kind of stuff, I wouldn't mind having a chat about it. Any team in particular, or how we see the weekend going? The thing is, the championship, because of the 24 clubs, it'd be impossible to go through it game by game. Maybe it's case to pick out 2 or 3 fixtures, and have a quick look through that.
Yeah, because a friend of my family is a big Crew fan, so I occasionally look out for the Crew results.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I lived in Bristol for so long, so Bristol City, I always keep an eye out for. My missus is a massive City fan. Avo, 80s football, the Man on Football pod. I guarantee you, the boys will definitely be going through that. I think they're going to be putting some stuff out 2 days a week. They'll fill you in definitely on Sunday night on Fatback 4 of what stuff they're putting out next week and what they're talking about. But I guarantee you, football from the 80s, 90s will be high up on the boys' list.
Can we talk at some point about Golazzo? That's just brilliant. That was just great childhood.
Top 10 sports show intro musics of all time. That's got to be up there with Grandstand, to be fair.
Oh, we could also talk about the Italian kits from that time as well. There were some great kits.
Yeah, I'm not getting into kits with you. You're nasty. I sat and listened to that quiz last week. For any of you guys that didn't watch it, the quiz.
Listen, it went really well until the last round where I put a typo on when I was asking for kit sponsors, and I'd done all the research for the 97-98 season, but I put 94-95 on the coat. And in fairness to Keith, he said Keith did bail me because he clicked on the link. He was, to be fair, said he has done the research because he had the link to the answers. He said he just put the wrong date on. Yeah, I know. But
somebody above there talking about the rugby. I mean, when the European stuff comes around and the Six Nation comes around, definitely. I mean, the fact that you're a Leinster fan, I won't hold that against you. Like, do you know what I mean? That's grand.
To be honest, I watch bits of rugby. I kind of enjoyed the rugby league a bit more, to be honest. A bit faster. I used to go and watch Witness play a bit, so it's a bit fast. But the only time I really watch rugby union is when the World Cup's on, because generally, if it's a big tournament, I'll watch most big tournaments because I like to watch them. Yeah,
with us, it's Munster, Leinster, Connacht, Ulster would be, the province sides, and the fact that we beat the All Blacks last week means we're de facto the world champions. So, doesn't matter. We don't need to play again now. But look, we're definitely going to be touching on a lot of that stuff. Najib, definitely top 6 in the championship, and we'll keep an eye on how Rooney does at Derby, because he's back up against the wall with
more point deductions, isn't it, today as well?
More point deductions. I think we'll definitely have to have a little chat on that for sure. Guys, thanks in the chat for everything, for all your comments and your contributions throughout the show, especially giving us an idea. Bonkers, darts.
Oh yeah, darts can't be the
best. I do like watching it. It's probably the only sport that I can get my daughter to come and sit down and watch, and she'll sit down and watch that with me.
The only thing to mention is, I don't know if you mentioned already, is condolences to Gary Stevens and his family.
Yeah, that was tragic.
It's very sad news about his son Jack, wasn't it?
Jack, 4 years of age.
So prayers with his family. That's a horrible thing to have to go through.
Yeah,
sorry to leave it on somber notes, but I meant to mention it earlier.
Listen, Chris, thanks for joining us, mate. I absolutely had a ball with that.
Thanks for having me on, mate.
No, my pleasure. Listen, thanks for everyone in the chat. Really appreciate all your contributions throughout the night. I'm only getting the hang of this. I might not be reading all your comments like the guys normally do, but I do see a lot of them, and thank you so much for all your contributions. Really appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend, whether you're watching the egg chasing, the football, the Formula 1, the boxing, cricket, whatever it is you're taking your boat, but enjoy it, and we'll chat to you again next week. Thanks very much, guys. Good night.